Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here and running this workshop. And let me quickly actually start sharing my screen. I believe you can all see that, so let's go. All right. So hello, everyone. Welcome to this workshop. It's great to be here. I saw people from different places like India, United States, Turkey. I'm also from Turkey. So it's nice to see great people in the chat. So today we're going to talk about on how to give eyes to our AI. So basically building vision-enabled agents with Haystack. First, a bit about me. My name is Bilge. I work as a developer relations engineer at Deepset for over 3 years. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and master's degree in artificial intelligence. And since then, I have been learning and teaching how to build with AI. I'm on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So if you like to connect there, if you have questions to me around building with language models or with Haystack, feel free to connect. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. And I would like to also take some time on Deepset. So Deepset was founded in 2018, and since then, so for 7 years, we are solving custom AI challenges of big enterprises like Airbus, Siemens, Bosch, NVIDIA. We have 2 main products. One of them is Haystack. It's an open source AI orchestration framework for Python developers. And we also have our Deepset AI platform, which uses Haystack as a backbone, but it's for AI teams to build and deploy their applications quite fast. And here's today's agenda. First, I'd like to explain you a bit about the agents, workflows, and vision language models. And then we're going to take a look at how we implement those concepts in Haystack. As the next step, I will take you through a collab notebook. Collab is, I think, a great way to share code in workshops like this. And I will also make a demo of something, but you will have every material that you need, so don't worry about that. And in the end, hopefully, we'll have some questions we'll have some time for questions. All right, so you can scan this code and fill in the form if you'd like to get access to all the links and material that I will be sharing in this workshop, but don't worry about it now. I will also put it on the screen at the end of the presentation. So I would like to also know where you are on your AI agent journey, basically. So have you deployed an agent into production? Are you working with agents? Maybe you don't need them. Maybe you just started to learn. So it's interesting to learn about this because every time I go to conferences and I do talks, it's we are still learning, we are still exploring, trying new methods, trying to find the best methods actually. And it's nice to be in this journey with everybody here. I'm also curious about your where you are at. If you like to share it in the chat, I will also take my time to go through and read. All right, let's start with our first concept, agents, workflows, and vision language models. So if you think about AI agents, probably you'll find very different explanations, very different definitions in different blog posts, in different tutorials. And here's my definition. It's an AI agent is an LLM-based system that autonomously pursues a goal by interacting with its environment using tools. So you'll see 3 items underlined here: LLM-based system, interacting, and tools. So basically, agents has LLM as their brain, and they can interact with the environment. They can understand what's happening, and they can make changes. They can observe those changes through the tools. So again, you'll see different definitions, but I think in the end, the definition, all of them boil down to this 3 things. And there's also in this AI world, there are different architectures, and agent is one of them. As we said, agent is an autonomous system if you have a complex multi-step problems requiring diverse actions, or if you have a task involve multiple tools and resources like deep research agents. That is very popular recently. Agents are great architectures for you. So basically, if the goals are clear, so if you know where to go, but if you don't know exactly how to go there, then agent is perfect. Like go for an agent and implement your system with that architecture. But we also have AI workflows. So these are defined flows. And these are specifically useful if you have interactions that can follow predictable patterns like question answering, like RAG. And if your task can be decomposed into clear steps, like document indexing, for example. So if you have some sort of files, you want to like convert them into, if you have PDFs, maybe you want to do OCR, then you want to split that into smaller chunks. You create embeddings for each of these chunks. Then you put that into your database. So you see like the steps are defined and I know which way to go. So instead of like using an agent for that, it makes sense for me to use a workflow or pipeline for this. And especially if you value stability, robustness, and efficiency over automation, then yes, the pipeline is the architecture for you. Agents can be a bit risky for your application. And with that being said, let's also take a look at what a vision language model is and how it is different from an LLM. So when we say LLM, it's a short form for large language models. We basically refer to this text-to-text models. So basically, we use it for any type of generative models that we input the text and we get an output as a text. And vision language models actually work in a similar way, but they can have text and image inputs in the same time. And as an output, it also produces a text. And these type of models are especially useful for visual QA. So if we have a visual information, visual data like images or PDFs, then we can use these models to do some sort of question answering over that data. And I'm not going to gatekeep here. Hugging Face has a great article explaining vision language models. And in that article, you can find ways to choose the right vision language model, technical details of how these language models, vision language models are trained, and find ways of fine-tuning your own vision language models. All right, now let's talk about agents in Haystack and how we approach agentic flows in Haystack. So as I said, Haystack is an open source AI orchestration framework by Deepset, and it's the backbone of the Deepset AI platform. It's open source, as I said. You can find it on GitHub, the whole code base, and it actually has been trending on GitHub for the last couple of days. So if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and give us a start to keep the momentum going. It provides the tools that Python developers need to build real-world agentic AI systems with visibility, control, and modularity. And all of these characteristics come through our building blocks, components, and pipelines. Components are the smaller unit. They are responsible of one thing, such as like creating embeddings, generating text, document classification, evaluation, basically you name the task. And by connecting components to each other, you form pipelines. And pipelines in Haystack are directed graphs, meaning that you can have branches and you can merge those branches and you can even have loops. This comes quite handy if you want to have some sort of retry mechanism or some sort of verification of your answer. So by connecting these components to each other, you form this whole pipeline architecture. But this is not the only type of building block that we provide to you. There are also agents in Haystack. So agent is a component that accepts a language model from any provider. It can be OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, or Hugging Face models. Maybe you run Ollama, any type of generative model. And it also accepts a system prompt alongside with some tools. And tools in Haystack agents can be Python functions, external APIs, Haystack, other Haystack components, and MCP servers. And basically, user request comes to the agent, and by using the brain, the generative model, and the tools that it has, it generates an answer. This agent generates an answer. All right, now let's, after like learning the theory and having the basics around like Haystack and the concepts, let's now talk about how we can give eyes to our AI, and we're gonna specifically talk about like images and PDFs here. So I will take you through a multimodal agent through a collab. So this agent will be able to process images and PDFs, and it will also have an access to a tool around weather information. For orchestration, we'll use Haystack, and as our model provider, we'll use OpenAI, but I'll also show you another way of using another provider. And with that, let's go and see our collab. Can you still see my screen? You should be able to see a collab now, but hopefully you do.
Yes, we do.
Okay, amazing. So here, as I said, we're gonna use Haystack, and I have like every code here, every code piece that you need in this collab. But if you need more examples, you can check our cookbook around like introduction to multimodal text generation and our tutorial around creating vision and text RAG pipelines. Let me maybe zoom in a bit so that it's better. All right. So basically, first what we do, we install the required packages. Haystack AI is one of them, and we also have other packages for us to process PDFs. All right. Then we're gonna install the packages, install some of the images and PDFs that we're gonna need. Actually, I don't need to run them all. So let's wait for this cell to finish, but then like let's go through the outputs of these instead of running them, because it's gonna take a lot of bandwidth of the connection. All right, so now we have some information, some data that we can use. And if you are not familiar with Collab, all of these files are basically here, downloaded for you. All right. Then as a next step, I'm going to put my OpenAI API key, and I've already put it as a secret here and then enabled that secret for this Collab notebook. So if I just run this cell, it will pick it up from there. So I don't need to worry about like copy and pasting it every time. So the way of working with language models in Haystack is through a chat generator components. And we have chat generator components for different providers like OpenAI, Hugging Face, Amazon Bedrock, Anthropic, Google, Mistral, Ollama, VLLM. If you go to Haystack documentation, you'll get a full list of all model providers and inference engines. And so here what I do is like, I import my OpenAI chat generator because this is the provider that I'm going to use. I'll define the model, GPT-4o mini, and then I run this component with this run method and provide my message. And first, I want my message to have this user role. So I use chat message.from user, and I pass a very basic message like what is the capital of Germany, and I get an answer of that the capital of Germany is Berlin. So this is just to test that, okay, API key is correct, I can use a chat generator and it works, it gives me a correct answer. All right, let's move on. For us to be able to process data, so process visual data, we need to first convert them into a specific type in Haystack, and that type is image content. So for example, if I have an image like a capybara image, and maybe I can show it to you. No, maybe not. Okay, you'll see it eventually, so no worries. So I have a specific component for that, image file to image content component that helps me convert any image to the image content type that I need. So what I do is like I initialize that component and I provide some parameters, then I give my image and it converts it into that specific type. And then that type is like image content is basically has this base64 string for that image. It has some MIME type, detail, and meta information for that. And if you take a look, this is the image that I have that I converted into the image content type. So what I do next is like, I want to pass this image to my language model that I initialize actually here and get some insights around this. So for example, what I say is like, what is the name of this animal? And I just pass this image content alongside this query, this question. And I again pass that in the exact form to my generator. One thing to like keep that in mind here is that the model that I'm using with my generator component should be a vision-enabled language model. So you need to check that with the provider. Not every large language model can work with images or PDFs, so visual data. But with the new wave of language models, almost all of them support this. So here, then, like after running this with my generator, I get that the animal in the image is a capybara. It's the largest rodent in the world, etc., etc. And it also says about like things about the bird. So it kind of also understands that it's a bird. That was the image, and let's now take a look at the PDFs. So I also need to, like, if I want to work with PDFs without doing OCR, so if I want to treat them as images as well, I can, again, use another component called PDF to image content and convert my PDF into image content structure so that I can also pass that information to my language model. So let's do that. So I initialize this PDF to image content converter.
Sorry to interject. So there has been a question about the link to the notebook.
Yeah, sure.
And I did a web search. I did find a few, but I'm not sure which exactly is this one.
This one is not published yet, so probably it's a similar one, but not the exact one. So, okay. All right, let me put it in the chat. If I put it in the chat, hopefully it will be. All right.
We have it. Yeah.
All right, amazing. So, all right, let's move on. So, I have a PDF. It's about, let me maybe show it to you. Yeah, it's here. So it's this one. So it's an information sheet from a provider, basically like putting out all the tiers that they have and what's included in that sheet. And what I do next is that I process that PDF, I convert it into an image content, then I pass that information here alongside again with this query. This time I want to know which subscription should I go for if I have more than 2,000 keywords to be tracked. And I pass that to my generator, and in return I get that if you have more than 2,000 keywords to be tracked, you should consider the advanced plan, as it allows for tracking up to 5,000 keywords. So if I go back to that, I can verify that, because like track words, like if this one has a limit of 2,000, this one has like 5,000, so I need to go for the advanced package. All right, so basically now without doing OCR, I can read the PDF and I can ask my questions to that PDF and get reliable answers for that. And I can also use the same thing for slide decks. So what I did, I basically, if I go back here where I downloaded all my things, I basically use the presentation that I have, and yeah, it's in a PDF form, and it's a short one to make it easier. But I also uploaded it here, again, converted it into an image content, and I asked, like, based on the slide deck, what are the differences between agent and pipeline architectures? And in return, I get some great answers, because it puts in an exact way of how I describe an agent and how I describe a pipeline architecture, like that it emphasizes stability, robustness, efficiency, so it can understand what I'm talking about, like in the slide deck, and answer, again, questions. So you can also go ahead and try different PDFs. There's another one, survey.pdf, and For example, for this question, do the planned actions seem targeted at the weakest areas? The LLM needs to go through a couple of slides and like combine the information that it got from them and generate an answer. So you can go ahead and try your own slide decks. This is actually a very common use case of these vision-enabled language models. All right. So now let's make our system a bit smarter, because so far we haven't been using an agent at all. We were just like communicating with an LLM and sending an image, sending a query, and getting an answer. But we can go a much more than that. But in order to create an agent, remember I mentioned tool. So let's just first create a tool. So there are different ways of creating a tool for our agent in Haystack. And one of the most common ones is like defining a Python function with a name, of course, and with some more information around the accepted parameters and a description, basically a docstring of what this function does. And if I put this tool decorator on top, then this Python function will directly turn into a tool that my agent can use. Because now if I check the name, this tool has it has the exact name of the Python function. If I check the description, it has this docstring. And if I check the parameters, then I see like it has the location, type string, and the location to get the weather for. And yeah, if we go through this Python function, what it does is it uses a client to get the current weather information in that location. So it accepts a location and it queries a client and gets description, temperature, humidity, precipitation, wind speed, wind direction as a result. And if you are familiar with function calling, you need to pass a name, a description, and parameter schema to your agent so that it knows when to call that tool and how to call that tool actually. But if you just have a detailedly defined Python function, we don't need to worry about. The Haystack takes care of all the parameter schema, name, and description generation. All right, now we have our get weather tool. Let's go ahead and create the agent. The agent component in Haystack, you can directly import it through among our components. It's a tool calling agent, so basically it's built in a React way. It started as a React, but under the hood, it uses function calling right now. What I can pass to my agent is a chat generator component. And if I want to go with the OpenAI chat generator, I can do so and pass that generator. But I can also use other chat generators in Haystack. And these chat generators are going to be the LLM, so the brain of the agent. Then I pass the list of tools that I want this agent have access to. Right now, I only have one tool, so I'll just pass that one. And I can also provide a very detailed system prompt. For this case, I just said like you're a helpful agent, but if you are, for example, if you're working with especially multi-agentic systems, then it makes sense to like give your agent a specific role of like saying like you're a, I don't know, like a customer success agent that has access to those tools, etc. But this is a very minimal example, so we don't need to do that. Then as a next step to be able to use my agent, I will actually use a map of Valencia. So this is like a screenshot from Google Maps, and it's again in my file. So I can just convert that image into an image content, but this time using this from file path method of my image content. And if I say show, I can see the content of my image. So let's, if we go ahead and try to just send a text query to our agent, we can do so. Here I try like, how are you today? And as a response, I got like, I'm just a program, so I don't have feelings, but I'm here and ready to help you. How can I assist you today? This was a text query. So if I use this agent in a way that I pass this query and this image, and I ask for it to do something. For example, I ask for what is the weather in the area of the map, and I pass this map image content that I have. My agent this time, it says like the weather in Valencia, Spain is currently sunny with a temperature of 30 degrees. So I hope that it checks, it goes through this like tool calling. So it basically goes to my Python tool, so to Python client, gets some current weather information, returns that to the agent, and as the last part, like the agent can generate the final response in this text format. This is my assumption, but there's a way to be sure of that, and it's called actually observability. So rather than like agent being a black box here, what I can do is like we have this print streaming chunk, a built-in function, a utility function that we have. I can pass this function as my streaming callback to my agent and see the details of all these tool calls, all the like the process happening inside of the agent. So if I run the same query, but this time having the streaming callback function, now what I see is like, okay, now there has been a tool call to my get weather tool, and the arguments that I used were location Valencia, Spain. And my tool returned this result, basically like description is sunny, temperature 30, humidity 55, etc., etc. So everything that I defined in my function. And this time assistant, so the agent as the final answer generated this one. So now I have more insights into my agent. So for this specific example, it again creates a value, but imagine having, I don't know, like 5 different tools, I don't know, 10 different tool calls, and something went wrong. So you like to have an insight on what's happening inside the agent and what went wrong, in which tool it went wrong. And this very simple utility function can help you with that when you're in the development phase of your application. Of course, you can define your own streaming callback function and pass that instead of this print streaming chunk. I have given all these examples in OpenAI format, but of course you can use different models, as I said. For example, Gemini 2.5 Pro is also a vision-enabled language model, so it also supports images. It means that we can also change the model of this agent and use Gemini 2.5 Pro instead. And for that, I need to install Google Gen AI Haystack package, enter my Google API key, and initialize my Google Gen AI chat generator with the model that I want to use. And this time, instead of basically passing the OpenAI chat generator, I just need to pass this Google generator here to my agent. And if I again run the same query with the same image, with the same settings, I get a response here. All right, so before I go to the demo where I will be showing you how to deploy this agent, are there any questions maybe I can answer like right now? Let me see. I actually don't see the questions.
So Bilge, are you looking under Q&A, or I can help you screen?
Yeah, now I found them.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Okay, I see a question like, is it possible to have a single agent enabled with multiple tools? I think, yes. You can actually use an agent as a tool to the other agent. So that gives you a very easy way of basically like creating this multi-agentic system. And another question, does Haystack have context and memory? It depends on what you mean with context and memory, to be honest. So like if you can send me a LinkedIn message, we can discuss, because there are different definitions on context and memory. If you ask like you can build RAG applications, you can save the chat history, but is it what you ask? A question, another one is why only Valencia is selected? Because that was the image that I put my agent, but I can also show other examples of that. Another one, in your workbook, which tool figured out the Valencia Spain part? I don't see that in the streaming. Okay, amazing. So maybe let me go through that again. So you see in the image, this is the image of Valencia. So when I pass this image to my agent here, by passing this map image and asking this, what is the weather in the area of map? So what happened here is like my agent first analyzed the image and understood the content of the image, and it understood that, okay, it's a map of Valencia and the user is asking about the weather in Valencia because that is the image that is provided to the agent. So that's why if we go to this observability part, when I pass the image, it understands that it's Valencia, Spain. So it uses this get weather tool to get the weather information about Valencia. And to get that, it passes the location information to this get weather tool. And get weather tool uses the Python client to get current weather information of Valencia, returns that back to the agent, and then agent composes that information as a natural language here. I hope that answers the question. Will this handle the images and graphs within the PDF or any other document? Yes, actually, it's when you're doing OCR, if you have graphs in your PDF, you kind of lose the text. You lose the context because OCR is extracting the textual information in your PDF, but treating PDFs as images through the approach can help you handle the graphs in PDFs and images. All right, I see lots of questions coming up. Quickly going through. Haystack is open source, completely open source on GitHub, so you can basically do pip install Haystack AI and start using everything. And I will also sharing the link. So for example, for this one, all I needed to do is to do this pip install. All right, without running a lot of time, I see lots of questions coming, but I also want to show more. So this was like the first part of this multimodal agent, but there's also another, like, you can also take this to another level and deploy it actually to your server. And this is through Hayhooks. Hayhooks is an additional package to Haystack. It's a tool to deploy and serve Haystack pipelines and agents as REST APIs and MCP servers. So you can basically deploy your agent, deploy your pipeline, and use it as an MCP server and connect it to an MCP client like Cursor or Cloud, for example. It comes with you create the custom logic and expose your Haystack agent and pipeline as an HTTP endpoint. And it also creates OpenAI compatible chat completion endpoints, which gives you a very easy way of having Open WebUI as your UI. So I want to now show you how you can deploy the same agents with Hayhooks. So for that, I will go to my Visual Studio Code. So, all right. So we have, let me maybe show you this one first. So we have Haystack demos repository. We have lots of repositories with a lot of content. Haystack demos is where we keep like end-to-end demos. You can find like a browser agent here. You can find a demo on chat with website through Hayhooks. And today we're gonna go over this multimodal agent demo. And I already cloned this repository to my VS Code. So let's go ahead and like check it there. So This is the same Haystack agent that we implemented in Google Colab, but now we take it to the Python script environment and we're gonna do more stuff on top of that. So what I did is like I cloned this repository. It's a very simple step. Then I installed the dependencies. So you need like Python 3.10 to run this demo. Then I configured some environment variables, OpenAI API key, but you can also use other model providers API key here based on your provider choose. And now I'm gonna start my Hayhooks server in just 2 commands, and let me make clear this. All right, first I'm gonna say Hayhooks run, and it will start the Hayhooks server for me. And now if I open another terminal and if I say like Hayhooks status here, I see that no pipeline is currently deployed, but I have a server running in this localhost, meaning that I can already send curl requests to this localhost and get some answers. But let's make it easy. So we actually have, like, if you go to that localhost and /docs, you'll also end up with this Swagger documentation, and you'll find the exact, like, the status endpoint here. You'll also see like all the endpoints that you already have here. All right, let's go back. So now what I want to do is like I want to deploy this agent, and for that, let me show you the code. So if you go to this multimodal agent folder and this vision enabled agent, there's only one Python script here. So no other code, only this one. And here it's quite easy. What I have is like I have a pipeline wrapper class. You don't need to memorize here at all. It's just like a copy paste code. But what I did is like, remember like this agent that I created with OpenAI chat generator. It has a system prompt, it has tools, get weather, and I also initialize this get weather tool here in my setup method. Then the second thing that I need is this run API. And this run API is my basically connector code piece to an HTTP endpoint. So what are the inputs of this HTTP endpoint that I want? And what am I gonna do with that? So since my agent can process queries, so textual query and images through image path, this is what I did. So this function accepts a query, image path. Optionally, I don't have to provide it all the time. If there's an image path, I pass query and image together. If I only have the query, I just pass the query. And what I do is like I run my agent with this content part, so with the information that is provided, and I just return the last message of that agent. So if I now go and say like, Hayhooks pipelines, this is deploy files that and I want to give a name to that. So I'm going to say like vision enabled agent and tell Hayhooks where this code is. So it's in multimodal agent / vision enabled. Oh, this is not underscore. This is dash agent. Okay. Oh, it's supposed to be pipeline. Sorry. Yeah. So now I deploy this pipeline, meaning that now I can go back to this Swagger documentation, refresh, and here I have my endpoint. And here basically I can do anything. I can do the same thing. And what's the weather? Did I type it correctly? Weather like in the image. And here I pass multimodal agent / map.png because that is already here given, like I have this same image here. And if I run this in this documentation, so basically I'm sending a curl request to my endpoint. It takes a bit of time. But now I have the same information here. It figured out that it's Valencia and it made a tool call. It returned me the answer. So basically, if I just have a UI on top of that, I have an agent running. This is a multimodal agent. I can upload like any image, any PDF that I want, and I can get a response. But let me also show you how you can also connect this to Open WebUI. So let's go back to that code. And for that, the only thing that you need to do is to have this extra run chat completion async method in the pipeline wrapper again. Let me maybe zoom in here. Okay. And I just pass this my agent as my pipeline. I pass my messages, the messages that I want to pass, and I handle those messages through chat message from OpenAI dict format. So it's quite easy. After having this method, I can use Open WebUI for my agent. But for that, first, I need to run my Docker and let me see that. Yeah, I need to first like start Open WebUI locally through Docker. Let's wait a sec and see if it's up. Yeah, I'm waiting Open WebUI to be up. All right. So now when I go to, where is that? Let me go. Okay. Let me maybe go there. Yeah. If I go to localhost 3000, now I have my Open WebUI and I have my vision enabled agent here. So I can say like, how are you today? And it uses my agent, so it gives a similar answer that I use. But what I can do is like I can upload a file, this map, the same map, and what's the weather there right now? And here I even see like there was like a tool call, get weather with arguments location Valencia, and now I have a response. And here, if I toggle, I see like Valencia here as the tool calling argument, and I also see the response. And I can maybe see like how is the weather in Berlin right now? These are just the queries for my agent. Like I enforce my agent to use the tool that I provided. And here it says like location Berlin. It figured like it understood that I want information around Berlin, obviously. And this time it used this get weather tool again with Berlin. And another thing that I can do here is like I can capture by basically having this Google Maps again and go back to my, what's the weather there? And like this time I provided like a map of Berlin. So I'm hoping that it will understand that it's Berlin, but it's not quite hard because Berlin, it's Berlin written here. Okay, so this time it did something funny. It noticed that it already has this information in the memory. So memory here, it's basically the chat history, and it already has this information in the chat. So it didn't go to the get weather tool again. It used the same information that it had in memory and returned that. All right, I don't have much time left, so I'm going back to my presentation for other steps. So now what you have seen is like you have learned how to create a multimodal agent with Haystack through the collab notebook. Then you also learn how to deploy that agent with Hayhooks and how to have a UI for that agent through Open WebUI. And all that code was like a small piece of code that you had to write as like a pipeline wrapper. But you can go ahead and provide more tools to your system now. So you can connect to MCP servers. You can use maybe like a multimodal RAG pipeline, create like a multimodal RAG pipeline in Haystack and use that as a tool. And there are also like pre-built GitHub tools in Haystack documentation. You can find them. So you can use those tools, maybe like build some sort of GitHub agent. You can try open models, open weight models through Ollama, VLLM, Hugging Face. There are like Llama models out there. You can try to find the model that works best for you. But you should always think about like observability. And if you want to take this agent into production, you need to also think about guardrails. Like what happens if the image is something irrelevant? What if my user asks something irrelevant? What if I return some sensitive information to my users? So you need to always keep that in mind. And observability is like quite easy to implement with Haystack. It already has this built-in feature that I showed you within Google Colab. And there are like different resources in Haystack on how to build AI agents with Haystack. We have like a tutorial explaining how to build a tool calling agent, a tutorial around AI guardrails, how to do content moderation and safety with open language models, how to create multi-agent system with Haystack, about tracing, about human in the loop. And we have 2 agent examples that might be helpful for you in your GitHub tasks. They come quite handy when you're dealing with an open source project like Haystack. And just a month ago, I launched this Building AI Agents with Haystack course on DataCamp. So you can also go ahead and check that course to learn about AI agents. All right. Thank you so much for joining me for this workshop. As I said, like you can find me on social media, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and we can connect there. And you can also have this QR code, scan this QR code if you want to get access to all the links, the demos that I made, the presentation, etc. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bilge. Do you have a few moments to take any questions here? I see some questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I see lots of questions.
Yeah, I think there is a question around how to restrict prompt injection. So that may be an interesting question here. Do you have any guardrails?
Yeah, so we have some ways of preventing that. As the first step, they can check this AI guardrails, content moderation and safety cookbook. And if they have like more specific use case, like if they're looking for a more specific solution, you can also they can also join like Discord, our Discord server. I am quite active there. Our like engineers are quite active there, and we either provide answers or like we take that into our roadmap for other months, for other weeks.
Okay. And there is one more question about the generic documentation, right? So any documents which guide to develop, test, and deploy in production. So is there a unified place where they can look at your documentation?
Yeah, so basically in our documentation, maybe I can take you also there. Let's yeah. Okay. So like first you need to start with like get started introduction to Haystack, then you learn about like the Haystack concepts here. You'll see like all document stores, and here are the components that you can use. And if you scroll a bit down, then you have here like tracing, logging. So basically like production related documentations and how to deploy, and information about Hayhooks, like all the details around Hayhooks. So every information that you need, you can find in our documentation. But again, as a reminder, you can go to our Discord server, Discord community, and ask your question there if you're looking for very specific answers. And I think our demos repository, we also have great examples, end-to-end examples here. So like this demos can be a good start for them as well.
Okay, thank you, Bilge. And perhaps we have maybe another minute or so. So one last question about what is the difference of Haystack pipeline comparing to LangGraph DAG? Looks very similar.
Yeah, it is quite similar, but I think one of the biggest differences is that we come with a long list of components. So you can choose from this building components that we have in Haystack. For example, if you want to take a look at generators, like everything is handled for you. You don't need to worry about how to like switch providers for that. But if you have like a very custom logic that you want to incorporate into your pipeline or your graph, you can create your custom component, and here you can find it here. It's quite easy. It's basically you just need to write a new Python class for that. And one other thing that I want to mention is like we have a breaking change policy. So basically we are quite careful with what we push into the stable version of Haystack, and we make sure that everything is working all the time. We run our tests even on our tutorials, so that might be like also one of the biggest differences.
Okay. I think we do have more questions, and as you as you pointed out, there is a Discord server and other resources.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah, please go ahead and ask those questions there. I'm gonna be like there for another hour. So yeah, I would like to have a chat with everybody there.
And do you have the? I don't know if the link to the Discord servers was posted here, but maybe you can go ahead and.
So if you go to haystack.deepset.ai, here you'll find this join Discord link. I think that's quite easy, but I can also like copy the here and maybe paste it in the chat.
Yeah, that would be actually very helpful.
Yeah, let me try to find it. And yeah. All right.
Okay. So I think this should be it. Thank you so much.
All right.
For,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
great
much.
rest of your day, night, evening.